All right, hello everyone, and welcome to an update video in the middle of the season here. So, going to be a little bit of spoilers for the Reach Throwback races that haven't been posted yet for this week. So, sorry about that. But yeah, I wanted to go over some changes that I'm going to be doing to the schedule here in the midpoint of the season because there were some problems and there were some things that I wasn't really happy about. So, trying to get them addressed now that I hopefully don't have to make any more adjustments again, and I hope that we won't have to, because I'm pretty happy with this newly updated schedule now. And I do have the old schedule here as well. I made sure that they're both saved, and that way I can take a look and like directly compare changes. There's going to be a bunch of little changes with like tracks being moved around and stuff like that. So here's, if you want to at some point do a pause and like look at the differences or whatever, here's the old schedule, and then go into the new one. So what are the main changes here? Well, obviously, we already made a change. These tracks got changed up this week, and I still wanted to race Blackwater, so I threw Blackwater elsewhere in the schedule. There's a little bit of a problem with the track, I suppose, so trying to fix that, throwing it later down the line so we can adjust whatever was wrong with whatever piece on the track. Get that adjusted, get that fixed, and then we can race on it and hopefully not have to worry about any problems on that track when we do get to it. But when do we get to it? You know, you don't really see it on here until I scroll down. You get to it in the Grand Finals. So this is the big, well, yeah, this is absolutely the major change, is the Grand Finals getting a full set of races added on. Basically, the way that this old schedule was, the Grand Finals wasn't any different than this triple header regular season finale night. I guess the order of the SX and the GP gets switched around, and obviously the tracks are different, but in terms of like the scope of it, it's exactly the same. And I had a bit of a problem with that because that's not really the point of the Grand Finals. Like, the point of the Grand Finals is to always raise this, like increase the scope a little bit, you know, broaden the horizons, like make things a little crazy, have a bit of like an endurance night, shoot for the stars, whatever saying you want to do, you want to use for it. That's the point of the Grand Finals. And so I kind of had a problem with that because the Firestone Firehawk series does have an increase. The Grand Finals in Firestone Firehawk is quite a bit different than the regular season nights. So I actually was happy with that one. I like the way that the Firestone Firehawk Grand Finals is looking. But for the Reach Throwback, this has been something that's been in the back of my mind for weeks. I just haven't really been a fan of the way that the Grand Finals was just not really anything special in terms of the scope of the event. So that's the big change. Added a whole set of tracks on. Now, what are we going to do to compensate? Potentially no practice, or what we did for TRS, which I think was practice for the first race, and then no practice from that point on. You know, so like once we get the first race going, we're just race after race after race, just rolling on through. So that's one thing that we can do, and I'm not saying that we're just going to do one thing. We could do multiple of these. Another thing that we could do is just chalk the heats, which I think I'm leaning towards that for sure. So heats, we have these heats in the regular season for a lot of the races, but I think we might just do away with the heats and just go like full invert race after race for the Grand Finals, which could keep things pretty spicy. So I think that's what we're going to do for that, is we're definitely going to do that, and we may take a look at like reducing the practice, either again chopping it for all tracks after the first track, or just like heavily reducing it to keep the night moving along. So those are the things that we're looking at, and honestly, we'll see. Obviously, the triple header night will give us like a bit of an idea of like how much longer it's going to take. If we do a good job of running the show, it really shouldn't take that much longer. But we'll see how things go, of course. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely a lot crazier, but that's, again, that I kind of want something like that for the Grand Finals. Like, I want the Grand Finals to have that big scope. I want it to be a big event. I want it to be something you look forward to at the end of the season that's, like, worth looking forward to, that like, stands out. And just the way it was, that just wasn't the case. So I had to switch it up. Okay, so now that we went over that, the regular season also gains a race. Now, it doesn't really gain a race. I'll explain. Technically, there are 21 races in the regular season now, and there was 20 before. Now, the reason this is because I did away with the TRS special, and instead I added in another race right there to compensate so that there's an equal amount of ovals, GPs, and supercrosses still throughout the season. It was important, I thought, to have an equal amount of the 3 track types throughout the season. And with cheesing the Tier S special, that wasn't going to be the case. So I added another race on so that, of course, there's 3 different track types, 21. So I divided up 7 of each, and that'll work out for 21 races. So now it is even. Now it's 7 ovals, 7 Supercross, 7 GP the whole way. Now, it looks like adding a race, like, oh, now the season's even longer. Well, again, the only races that I would really consider added on are the ones on the grand final night. I would not consider this extra race in the regular season as an extra race. Now, that might sound kind of weird at first, and you might be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Yes, it's an extra race, in terms of just like pure counts of races, but this Tier S special was going to be like as long as this triple header. So in terms of length of the races, it's kind of like we're taking away one actually and adding more to the grand finals, if that makes sense. So yes, technically we are adding a race, but in terms of actual like racing time, it's actually going to be less because the original planned Tier S special was going to be such a long event. So yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little confusing. But hopefully that makes some sense. So you might ask, like, okay, what about the Tier S special? What's going to happen with that? The Tier S special, the top secret Lamau idea for that, I decided it would be cool to, because Infinite Forge is right around the corner, to give it a shot in Infinite Forge. Plus, the Tier S special is a fun idea, but it didn't really fit with the Reach Throwback season. There you go. There's a hint at what it is. It didn't really fit. Well, I mean, already just the fact that it was a Tier S didn't really fit. So it didn't really fit with the schedule. It was a cool idea to, like, do something different. But after a while, I thought about it, and I was like, it doesn't really fit. And it could be really cool in Infinite if we try to make it an Infinite. So that's the new plan, is to try to make it an Infinite, see how cool it works in there. We'll try to work what the Tier S special is going to be in Infinite. And just going to, put it on the back burner. Hopefully look into it in January or February. Okay, so the extra race, doing away with the Tier S special, and the extra race in the regular season, the added on grand finals races. Now, what's the last thing that I have to talk about? Track changes, and also, again, you can pause if you want. A lot of tracks got moved around where they are in the schedule, so you can take a look at that if you want. But yeah, so track changes. So for next week, that's already a difference there. What was it going to be? It was going to be Milwaukee Mile and Phoenix. I moved Phoenix to the grand finals with Blackwater, and so I had to move another SX into this slot. So we have Paladin SX by X-Rains, I believe. It's on my files. It's a pretty solid SX track. I think it's pretty solid. It should run pretty well. Seems pretty competitive. Seems a little challenging too. There's some tricky sections on it. Should be a good track. So we're going to have Milwaukee Mile and Paladin. That's going to be our new next week. What was going to be the week after that? It was going to be Montreal and ORL Nationals. Now it's going to be Lime Rock and ORL Nationals. I felt like I liked the Montreal track better over here. So it's going to be Lime Rock and ORL Nationals now. The week after that, what was it going to be? It was going to be Adrenaline Autodome and Lime Rock. Well, obviously Lime Rock already got moved around. Now it's going to be Green Valley. So basically, with taking out the Tier S special and with adding in an extra race, I needed a oval and I needed a GP. And I was not really liking many of the GPs that I had to choose from. I don't know. The ones that were left, I was not really a big fan of. And I also already picked the main oval tracks that I really enjoyed. Not saying that the last ones that were left, that there was like no good ones left, but like all the great ones that were like classics that I really remembered as enjoying and always being a good time, those were all taken. So I was in kind of a tough spot where it's like, okay, what do I go with here? And Green Valley kind of saved the day, because Green Valley gets 2 birds stoned at once. Shout out to Trailer Park Boys for that quote. But yeah, it hits the 2 birds with 1 stone Lamau. I'll say it the proper way. And it gives me the oval and the GP on the same map that we can run in the same night, which I think is a cool idea. So it's a decent GP, it's a decent oval, and it's kind of cool that we can, do the same do the one night on the same like track facility is like kind of cool. So shout out to Green Valley. Green Valley made my life a lot easier in choosing what to add in here. So shout out to Green Valley for that. Okay, so the week after is going to be the TRS special, and again we had to add in the 2. So I moved the Adrenaline Autodome to this week, and we threw in Trip Rain's SX, Trip Mine and X Rain's Coforge, of course. Very big surprise there from the name. Bet you couldn't figure that one out. So I added that one in, and then the Adrenaline Autodome got moved around to this week. And then we have the final week of the regular season, the triple header, still a triple header. It was Floodline, Laguna Seca, and Homestead. I moved Laguna Seca to the Grand Finals. I moved Montreal into this slot, but Floodline and Homestead are still there. So it's still Floodline to start the night, still Homestead to end the night, but Montreal is the middle road course now. And now the tracks for the Grand Finals. So it was going to be Watkins Glen and then Audacity, and then obviously we moved Audacity, racing it in the last week. It was going to be Watkins Glen, Audacity, Boulder Bay. Well, then I moved in Blackwater so we could work on Blackwater, and then I added in the extra tracks. So now it's going to be Watkins Glen, still opening it off, Boulder Bay, still closing it out. But in the middle now, we'll have AMA SX Phoenix. Remember that one from over here? Threw it in over here. I thought it fit for a Grand Finals track. Moved in Darlington. Thought it was a decent oval, a little bit different than Boulder Bay, so it can offer some variety, and I can make a good Grand Finals track, I think. And then Laguna Seca, moved that from the regular season in the Grand Finals here. And then we got Blackwater, and then Boulder Bay. So that's all the changes. After, a day or two, I'll leave this up for a little bit, but after a day or two or whatever, we'll transfer all this stuff into the one sheet, and it'll just be one sheet. We'll just have the updated schedule. So we'll move all that over in a bit. But yeah, so let me know what you think about the schedule changes. Curious to hear the thoughts. And yeah, overall, I think this is pretty positive. Again, I think the Grand Finals stands out a lot more, which I'm a fan of. We got some extra tracks into the season that I think are good. I like the tracks that we moved around, and the TRS special will still happen at a later date, potentially in Infinite, and I think it will stand out better, and I think it'll be more fun doing it then than where we had it planned here. And I think it'll fit. I think it'll fit better as like an opening like new game event type thing. So not that it's going to be like the opening race, but I plan on doing it pretty early on. So yeah, that's the idea with that. Hope everybody enjoys the changes. Obviously it's a bit different. But again, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think it should be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. I think we got some really good tracks added into the season, to be honest. I like a lot of the additions and changes around that I made. So yeah, hopefully you guys do too. And I'll see you in the next one. Later.